On a campus where laughter echoed under mango trees and roasted corn smoke curled lazily from roadside kiosks, Amaka thought life would remain simple: classes, friendships, and the rhythm of everyday youth. But beneath the hum of generators and the restless whispers of students, a storm was brewing. What began as ordinary days of warmth and discovery would soon test the meaning of courage, loyalty, and love. Before the rain falls. Amaka was already halfway down the steps of ETF Hall 2 when the sky cracked open. The first drop smacked her cheek like a cold slap, and before she could blink, rain was hammering the pavement so hard it bounced back up in silver sprays. Students scattered, dashing for any scrap of cover. Someone yelled, "A bag shift," as bodies squeezed under the narrow corridor roof. Her tote bag was clamped under her arm, protecting her lecture notes like they were gold. She was weighing her options: wait it out or make a mad dash to the library, when a gust of wind bent the rain sideways, spraying them all. "Oh my God," she hissed, stumbling back as water soaked her sleeves. And that's when she saw him. Not in slow motion. No dramatic music. Just there, a few steps away, like he'd been waiting for her to look. White shirt, damp at the shoulders, black trousers, hands deep in his pockets. He wasn't hunching under the roof like everyone else. He just stood there, calm, eyes locked on her in a way that felt intentional.
"You're going to catch cold,"
he said. His voice was low, yet somehow clear through the roar of the rain. Amaka blinked.
"And you are not?"
The corner of his mouth lifted. Without another word, he shrugged off a dark jacket, thick, warm-looking, smelling faintly of clean cologne even from a step away.
"Take it."
Her first instinct was to refuse, but the guy next to her was shaking water from his sandals, and another girl was swearing at her wig net. The jacket hung in his hand, steady, like the offer wasn't going anywhere. She reached for it. Warmth bloomed instantly under her damp blouse. The two of them stood side by side, silent, the rain pounding so hard on the corrugated roof it swallowed every other sound. Somewhere outside, a generator coughed to life, filling the air with diesel and wet concrete.
"You're political science, right?"
he asked suddenly. Her brows arched.
"And you are?"
"Tega."
He replied, as if that explained everything. When the rain slowed, she slipped off the jacket and handed it back. He took it without looking at her. She walked away without saying goodbye, but hours later, lying on her bunk with hostile gossip buzzing through the corridor, she could still feel the weight of his gaze, and the lingering heat of that jacket on her skin. The next time Amaka saw Tega, there was no rain to hide behind. It was Tuesday morning, the kind where the sun rose with an attitude, beating down on the walkways before 9 a.m. She was outside the Faculty of Arts canteen, balancing a plate of jollof rice and plantain in one hand and her phone in the other, when his voice slid into her ear from behind.
"You survived the flood."
She turned, caught off guard, almost tipping her food.
"And you, still wearing white shirts like you own a laundry."
His mouth twitched.
"They make life simple."
"Or predictable."
She countered, stepping aside so he could pass. But instead of walking on, he stood beside her at the canteen railing, looking out at the steady stream of students weaving between stalls.
"I'm heading to the library." "You?"
"Class in 20 minutes.
She said, scooping a forkful of rice. He glanced at her plate.
"That's a lot of plantain for one person."
Amaka narrowed her eyes.
"You plantain policing me now?"
"Just making conversation."
He tapped the edge of the railing, as if weighing whether to leave, then nodded toward an empty table under the almond tree.
"Mind if I join you for a few minutes?"
Her instinct was to brush him off. She didn't really do strangers. But curiosity got the better of her.
Just don't start preaching about balanced diets.
They sat, and for a while, the noise around them filled the space, clinking plates, a hawker calling out, "Pure water." Pure water, the far-off thump of Afrobeats from a hostel. Tega asked questions the way some people played chess, slowly, deliberately.
So, political science.
He began.
You planning to join SUG politics?
She snorted.
What about NGOs? Debating society.
Maybe. If I find the right fit.
He nodded, not pushing, just letting the silence settle again. When she asked about him, he kept it light, final year law, partial to evening jogs along the stadium track, hates cold beans, loves palm wine. It was ordinary talk, yet there was something oddly steadying about it. Like they were sketching outlines of each other without rushing to fill them in. Still, twice in the space of 10 minutes, his eyes flicked toward the far end of the canteen where a group of boys in dark t-shirts were laughing too loudly. The moment she followed his gaze, he looked away, changing the subject. Her phone buzzed with a reminder for her class. She stood.
All right, lawyer, I need to go.
Lawyer.
You are in law, aren't you?
He smiled faintly.
True. But you didn't ask what kind of lawyer I want to be.
That's for another day.
She said, slinging her bag over her shoulder. By the third time they ran into each other, this time at the photocopy shop near the library, the rhythm between them was easier. She was leaning on the counter, waiting for her notes, when his reflection appeared in the dusty glass display case.
You again.
She said without turning.
You sound disappointed.
He replied, placing a thick volume of constitutional law on the counter. She glanced at it.
Light reading?
Test is in 2 weeks.
Good luck with that.
She said, collecting her stapled notes. They walked out together, the late afternoon light slanting across the pavement. Students passed them in clusters, laughing, arguing, dragging plastic chairs toward a street football game.
Do you always walk this slowly?
She teased.
Do you always walk this fast?
He countered. Their conversation darted between topics, lecturers who gave impossible assignments, the chaos of campus elections, why the Akara lady near the stadium had the best pepper sauce. At one point, she noticed a folded slip of paper sticking out of his law book with something written in red ink. He pushed it back in before she could read it. By the time they reached the library steps, she realized they'd covered almost everything except the obvious, why he'd offered her that jacket on a rainy day when they were strangers. But she didn't ask. Not yet. That evening, in her hostel room, her roommate Nkechi noticed the small smile tugging at her mouth. "What's that about?" Janet asked, folding her laundry.
Nothing.
The kind of nothing that looks like a somebody. Janet sing-songed. Amaka threw a pillow at her, but the truth was, she could still hear Tega's calm voice in her head, not the words, just the tone. Solid. Measured. Like the rain had introduced them, and the campus kept giving them reasons to cross paths. And somewhere in that voice was a shadow, a hint of a story she wasn't sure she was ready to hear. The first twist. The campus sun was mellow that Thursday afternoon, its golden light dripping lazily through the almond trees near the Faculty of Arts. Amaka sat on the low wall beside the walkway, half reading her communication skills textbook, half watching Tega argue with the suya man over extra onions.
You people think onions are free.
The man complained.
Brothers, I'm paying for the suya, not air.
Tega shot back, flashing that crooked grin that always seemed to undo her concentration. He finally returned, holding 2 oily paper wraps.
Peace offering.
He said, handing her one. She smirked.
You bribed me with suya?
I bribed myself into your company.
He replied easily, and for a heartbeat too long, their eyes locked. It was in moments like this that Amaka felt the ground shift, not the loud type of attraction, but something slow and deliberate, like pages turning by themselves. She'd known him for barely 2 weeks, yet he fit into her afternoons like he'd always been there. They talked about everything, lecturers who acted like gods, the price of Gary at the market, even their childhood dreams. But as Tega spoke, she noticed it again, that fleeting distance in his gaze, as if part of him was elsewhere. She was about to ask when two girls passed, giggling too loudly. One of them, a petite law student, slowed just enough to throw Tega a lingering look. Amaka caught it, and the quick flash of discomfort on Tega's face. The girls whispered something as they walked off. One of them looked back at Amaka, shook her head faintly, and they disappeared down the path.
What was that about?
Amaka asked before she could stop herself. Tega's jaw tightened for a fraction of a second, but then he forced a smile.
Nothing.
She let it go. At least, she tried to. Later that day, in the campus cafe, Amaka ran into Femi, her course mate. Femi leaned closer as if sharing juicy gossip.
Your guy, that Tega, do you know last semester he nearly got suspended? All because of one girl.
Amaka's hand stilled over her cup of sobo.
What happened?
They said he stood up for her when some campus guys tried to drag her name through rubbish on WhatsApp. Words got ugly, threats were made. Tega actually fought one of them in front of the hostel. The girl transferred to Uniport after, and people say Tega never talks about it.
Amaka's heart was suddenly heavy, with admiration, curiosity, and something else she couldn't name. That evening, as they walked past the dimly lit basketball court, she glanced at him. The orange glow of the streetlight made his profile look almost sculpted, but his eyes, they carried stories.
Tega,
She said softly.
if someone asked you to fight for them, would you do it again?
He looked at her then, truly looked, as though the question had opened a door he'd been keeping shut.
Depends.
He murmured.
On who's asking?
And in the silence that followed, Amaka felt it, the beginning of something deep, dangerous, and possibly unforgettable. When the walls start to fall. The rain came suddenly that Friday evening, washing the campus in silver sheets. Amaka was stuck under the old faculty veranda with about 20 other students, everyone huddled close to avoid getting drenched. She was about to text her roommate when a familiar voice rose over the murmur.
Madam, why are you standing like an orphan? Come here.
She turned. Tega stood just a few steps away, holding an umbrella, one of those wide, stubbornly bright red ones that made him look both ridiculous and charming.
Where did you even get this?
She laughed, stepping under it.
Borrowed from my friend Musa.
He said.
Don't lose it. Which means I'm definitely losing it before midnight.
Tega said. The umbrella forced them close, so close she could smell his cologne, sharp and clean, beneath the faint dampness of rain. As they walked through the slippery pavements toward her hostel, Amaka found herself hyper-aware of everything, his steady hand holding the umbrella just above her hair, the way his shoulder brushed hers when they turned corners, the occasional glance he threw her way without quite meeting her eyes.
You know.
She began carefully.
Like this? Share it with your squad, and don't forget to subscribe for more Diary Tea.
You never told me what happened last semester.
Tega's jaw flexed, almost imperceptibly.
People like to talk.
He said finally.
They rarely get the story right.
So, tell me the right one.
His gaze flicked to hers for a moment, then back to the wet ground ahead.
Some things are better kept quiet.
Amaka felt the urge to push, but something in his tone, not cold, just tired, made her swallow the question. Instead, she changed the subject.
Okay, Mr. Mystery. If you're not telling me that story, Tell me your first memory of this campus.
He smiled faintly.
Orientation day. I got lost looking for my faculty, ended up in the middle of the science lab complex. Some girl thought I was a freshman from engineering and gave me a tour of the wrong building.
Amaka laughed.
Sounds like you.
By the time they reached her hostel, the rain had softened to a drizzle. Neither of them seemed in a hurry to say goodbye.
You can come in for a bit.
She offered.
Common room. I'll make tea.
Tega hesitated, then nodded. In the common room, the fluorescent light buzzed faintly above them as she poured steaming water into 2 mugs. He watched her with that quiet attentiveness she was starting to recognize, the way he didn't just listen, he absorbed.
You're different from what I expected.
He said suddenly. She raised an eyebrow.
And what did you expect?
A girl who only takes things at face value. Who believes whatever gossip she hears.
He sipped his tea.
But you wait. You look deeper.
The compliment was so direct, so unadorned, that Amaka's throat felt dry despite the hot tea in her hands.
And you?
She said softly.
You carry too much for one person.
For the first time since she'd met him, he didn't deflect. Instead, his expression shifted, not exactly sad, but unguarded.
I've lost people.
He said simply.
Friends. And when that happens, you learn to hold your cards close.
Amaka reached across the table, her fingers brushing his. He didn't move away. The rain had stopped by the time Tega left, but as she watched him walk across the damp campus, a strange thought lodged itself in her chest. She didn't just like him. She wanted to be the person he could hand those cards to. Later that night, a message lit up her phone. Tega, thank you. For today. For not forcing me. She stared at the words, smiling before she could stop herself. And though she didn't know what storm lay behind his eyes, she was certain of one thing, whatever it was, she wanted to walk through it with him. The first big rift. The week had been one long, golden thread of shared laughter. Tega and Amaka had found a rhythm that made every day feel lighter, lingering in the cafe long after lectures, swapping notes under the massive mango tree behind the Faculty of Arts, stealing glances that felt like quiet promises. That Thursday, the sun was dipping low, turning the University of Calabar sky a deep, honeyed orange. They just stepped out of History of African Literature. Amaka's head tilted toward Tega as she teased him about his handwriting, which, she insisted, belonged in an archaeological exhibit. They were mid-laugh when a voice, clear and tinged with familiarity, sliced through the air.
Tega?
Tega froze. Amaka turned toward the voice, following Tega's startled gaze. A tall, slim girl stood by the faculty entrance, hair pulled back in a neat bun, a soft smile playing at her lips. Her eyes, large, almond-shaped, were locked on Tega like she'd been searching for him all her life.
Anabella.
The name tumbled from Tega's mouth, almost involuntarily. The girl stepped closer, the late sun catching on the faint gold flecks in her irises.
It's been a while.
Amaka stood still, the warmth of the moment cooling in her chest. She watched as Tega's expression shifted, surprise, confusion, something else she couldn't name.
It has.
Tega said, his voice careful.
What are you doing here?
I transferred. Anabella replied, a small laugh escaping her lips. Guess Fit wasn't done with me and Calabar. They talked. Not just talked, the kind of talking that carried an undercurrent, heavy with old memories. Inside jokes slipped in, names Amaka didn't recognize, the kind of familiarity that only history could build. Family reasons. The day she left without goodbye. 2 years of silence. The air between them seemed to hum with things left unsaid. Amaka shifted her weight, wishing she could shrink into the ground. She caught herself fiddling with the strap of her bag. When Anabella finally glanced at her, it was with polite curiosity. "And you are?" Amaka's lips curved into a polite smile.
Amaka.
Tega cleared his throat.
Amaka's my
He hesitated for a fraction too long.
friend.
The word landed like a pebble in Amaka's chest. They said their goodbyes, Anabella promising they'd catch up properly. As she walked away, Tega's eyes followed her a second too long. Later that evening, they sat on the steps outside the hostel. The warm night air carried the scent of fried plantain from a nearby kiosk, but Amaka's appetite had disappeared hours ago.
She's just someone I used to know.
Tega said, rubbing the back of his neck.
Someone.
Amaka asked, her voice even.
Or someone who meant something?
Tega looked at her then, eyes searching hers for understanding or forgiveness.
It ended a long time ago. No calls. No explanations. She just left. I didn't expect to ever see her again.
Amaka studied his face, the way shadows played over the angles of his jaw. He wasn't lying. But he also wasn't telling her everything.
You don't have to explain.
She said quietly, though her heart thudded with questions she wasn't sure she wanted answers to. Tega reached for her hand. His palm was warm, grounding.
I don't want you to think.
He trailed off, shaking his head.
You matter to me, Amaka. You're not.
But the words didn't quite land. The space between them felt altered, fragile. And somewhere deep inside, Amaka knew this wasn't just a moment. It was the start of something, a quiet crack in the glass. Emotional fallout. The next morning, the campus felt different. The sunlight was no less bright, the wind no less warm, but Amaka couldn't shake the tight knot in her chest. Tega had sent a good morning text, something cheerful, casual, but it landed flat. Her thumbs hovered over the screen for a long moment before she finally typed a brief reply, "Morning." When they met at the Faculty of Arts cafe later that day, she found herself lagging a step behind him, staring down at the tiles as if she could make herself invisible. Tega greeted her with his usual easy smile, but even that couldn't chase away the lingering shadow of Isioma from her mind.
So, did you eat breakfast?
He asked, carrying his tray toward their usual table.
Yes.
She said, voice clipped.
Only jollof.
He pressed, trying for casual conversation.
Yes.
She replied again, refusing the warmth of his teasing. He frowned, sliding into the seat across from her.
Amaka, what's going on?
She shook her head, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes.
Nothing. I'm fine.
But Tega knew her too well. Later, as they studied together under the mango tree, Amaka found herself flinching whenever Tega's phone buzzed. When he glanced at it and murmured,
"It's a classmate."
She immediately pictured Anabella's smiling face, that easy familiarity she had seen the day before. She wanted to push the thought away, but it kept returning, curling around her heart like a vine. Tega noticed her silence.
Amaka.
She looked up, catching his concerned gaze.
Just thinking.
He sighed, closing his notebook.
I know you're worried about yesterday. I can't control the past, but I can promise you this, you're the one I'm with. The one I want to be with.
Her throat tightened. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to lean across the table and let his reassurance wash over her. But a part of her hesitated, watching the faint tension in his shoulders, the way he avoided mentioning Isioma's name directly. Over the next few days, Amaka's demeanor shifted subtly. She stopped lingering at the cafe after class, declined the study sessions under the mango tree, and avoided joining Tega when he went to the library. Even when he walked beside her on campus, she kept her eyes fixed on the pavement ahead, careful not to meet his. Tega, frustrated but patient, tried different ways to reach her. He left a note tucked into her notebook. "I don't know how to fix what isn't broken between us, but I'm going to try." He invited her for a late-night walk, bringing her favorite sobo from the campus vendor. He dropped small, playful comments about lecturers, football games, even the outrageous stories from their hostile neighbors, anything to make her laugh. She smiled. Occasionally, she laughed. But each time, she felt a hollow tug at her chest, a reminder of Anabella's sudden intrusion. One evening, as they sat on the library steps watching the sun slip behind the hills, Tega finally said, softly but firmly,
Amaka, you're mine. No one from my past, no one from anywhere else matters as much as you. I want you, only you.
Her hands trembled as they brushed his. She wanted to reach out fully, to let the warmth of his words and his presence fill the doubts, but the fear of being hurt lingered like a shadow.
I know.
She whispered.
I need a little time.
He nodded, understanding but not defeated.
Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere.
And as they sat in the golden glow of dusk, hands brushing, hearts beating in tentative rhythm, Amaka realized something crucial. Love wasn't just about the good moments, the laughter, the quiet joy. It was about holding on through uncertainty, about trusting someone even when shadows from the past reappeared. Somewhere deep inside, she felt the first stirrings of resolve, a decision to face the crack in the glass with him, together. The confession. The following weekend, the campus was unusually quiet. Students had scattered to their hostels or part-time jobs, leaving pathways that usually buzzed with chatter almost empty. Amaka and Tega walked side by side toward the small park near the Faculty of Arts, the air crisp with the promise of evening.
You've been quiet all week.
Tega said, breaking the silence. His voice wasn't accusatory, it was gentle, patient, the tone that had always made her feel safe.
I've had a lot on my mind.
She admitted, letting her gaze wander to the lamplight glinting off the wet leaves.
Anything to do with you.
Amaka.
He said, stopping and turning to face her. The golden sunlight framed his face, and she felt her heart skip.
I need to tell you something. I can't have you doubting us because of someone from my past.
She swallowed hard, sensing the weight of his words.
Go on.
She whispered. Tega took a deep breath.
Anabella, we were close in secondary school. But it ended abruptly. She left without explanation. I never understood why. I thought it was over. I never imagined seeing her again.
Amaka listened, studying the way he avoided her eyes just slightly, the tension in his jaw.
And you?
I cared.
He said quickly, almost too quickly.
But it's over. I've moved on. I'm here, with you. Every time I look at you, every time we're together, that's what matters to me. You're my present, my future, Amaka.
Her heart thudded in her chest. She wanted to reach out, to let the warmth of his sincerity melt the doubts that had grown over the week. Instead, she looked down at their hands, brushing together as they walked.
You mean it?
She asked quietly.
I mean it.
He said, cupping her chin gently, lifting her gaze to meet his.
No one else. You. Only you.
The vulnerability in his eyes broke something inside her. She had spent days questioning herself, imagining shadows where there were none. And here he was, steady, patient, unwavering. For the first time in days, she let herself smile.
You're impossible.
She said, teasingly, though her voice trembled slightly.
Maybe.
He replied, the corner of his mouth quirking.
But you like it.
She rolled her eyes, but laughter bubbled from her chest. And then, as the last light of the day faded into a soft twilight, Tega did something small but intimate. He intertwined their fingers, letting their palms rest together naturally, as if it had always been this way. Amaka felt a warmth spread through her chest, a sense of grounding she hadn't realized she'd been craving.
I trust you.
She admitted, her voice low but firm. Tega smiled, leaning closer until his forehead rested lightly against hers.
And I keep earning it, every day.
He murmured. The wind stirred, rustling the leaves around them. Somewhere in the distance, a student strummed a guitar, and the faint laughter of friends drifted from a hostel. But in that small park, with their fingers entwined and hearts beating in quiet rhythm, it was just them, no past shadows, no doubts, no interruptions.
Promise me.
Amaka whispered, almost shyly.
I promise.
He replied without hesitation, eyes locking with hers.
No one will ever matter more than you.
For the first time since Anabella's sudden appearance, Amaka felt a lightness, a release from the anxiety that had been holding her captive. The week of quiet jealousy, subtle withdrawal, and half-formed fears seemed distant now, replaced by the warmth of a confession that wasn't just words, it was a vow. They walked back toward the hostel, the night sky stretched above them, stars beginning to flicker to life. Their hands stayed entwined, each step a silent affirmation. Love wasn't perfect, and it wasn't without trials. But with trust, patience, and honesty, it was theirs, pure, simple, and powerful enough to face anything that came next. A sweet normal. The week after Tega's confession felt like a soft sigh. For the first time since Isioma appeared, Amaka felt the tension in her chest ease, replaced by something light and unshakable. Every glance, every brush of hands in the corridor, carried a quiet reassurance, a silent echo of the promises they had made under the mango tree. Monday morning arrived with the usual chaos of University of Calabar, students hurrying to lectures, vendors calling out over the din, kiki riders weaving through the crowd. Amaka spotted Tega at the canteen, already in line with a plate of fried rice balanced expertly. She felt a grin creep across her face.
Late again?
She teased, sliding beside him.
Fashionably late.
He said, nudging her shoulder with a smile.
You're just in time to help me finish this.
He added, nodding toward the heaping plate.
Help you? Or eat your homework?
She shot back, laughing. They settled under the almond tree, sharing small bites and idle jokes, weaving a world where nothing else mattered but laughter and warmth. Tega leaned back, letting the sunlight hit his face, and Amaka found herself tracing patterns on the tabletop absent-mindedly, just to feel closer. That afternoon, they found themselves at the faculty's small outdoor basketball court. Tega insisted she try shooting a few hoops, though her coordination left much to be desired. He laughed at her misses, but his encouragement was constant, his patience infinite.
See. You just need confidence.
He said, handing her the ball again. Amaka rolled her eyes, but her smile widened.
Or better aim.
They collapsed onto the grass afterward, panting, soaked in sweat and sunlight. Tega draped his arm around her shoulders, and she leaned into him, the warmth of his presence a steady pulse against her own.
You know,
he said, voice low.
I could get used to this, just us, ridiculous shots, too much sun, too much laughter.
I could too.
She replied, nudging him lightly.
Maybe it's dangerous to get used to perfection.
Dangerous how?
She raised an eyebrow, a teasing glint in her eyes.
Because you might set the bar impossibly high.
He chuckled, resting his forehead against hers.
Then I guess I have to stay around to keep it high.
Evenings became their favorite time. They wandered the campus paths, sharing roasted corn from the kiosk near Small Gate, talking about everything from favorite lecturers to the best late-night shawarma. The worries from the past week felt like a distant memory, smoothed over by sunlight, laughter, and the warmth of fingers intertwined. One night, back at the hostel, Amaka's roommate, Janet, peeked into the room.
"So, you two are back to normal, huh?"
Amaka grinned, tossing a pillow at her.
More than normal.
She said, settling into bed with a sigh.
It's perfect.
Janet laughed.
"I think I need to see this magic myself."
Amaka rolled her eyes, but she didn't argue. She was content. She and Tega had rediscovered their rhythm, playful, gentle, secure. And yet, beneath the easy smiles, a quiet awareness lingered. Life at university was unpredictable, the past could always return even when the present felt safe. But for now, there was only this, shared zobo in the cafe, sunlit walks along the walkways, laughter echoing across the lawns, and the comforting, steady presence of someone who had proven that love, pure, uncomplicated, and warm, could survive even the shadows of yesterday. And as Amaka drifted to sleep that night, she felt it in her chest, steady and sure she was exactly where she was meant to be. The climax. The evening had started like any other, warm with the hum of campus life and the scent of fried plantain drifting from the kiosks. But by the time Amaka left the library, the air had thickened, not with humidity, but with tension. A crowd had gathered near the hostel gates, students shouting, banging makeshift drums, waving placards demanding explanations for the sudden power outage and the hike in hostel fees. Amaka's stomach tightened. She had heard murmurs of unrest all week, but seeing it firsthand was different, raw, chaotic, overwhelming. She tried to sleep through the throng, keeping close to the walls, but the tide of students pressed forward. Someone shouted, a chant turned into a roar, and suddenly the protest surged like a wave. Plastic chairs toppled, a vendor's cart overturned, spilling roasted corn and sachets of pure water across the pavement.
Amaka.
Tega's voice cut through the roar. She turned to see him pushing against the crowd, eyes scanning for her. His hand found hers before she could call out, gripping tight.
Stay close.
He yelled over the din. They ran, weaving through clusters of shouting students, dodging flying stones and overturned carts. The air smelled of smoke from a makeshift bonfire someone had lit in frustration. Her heart pounded, fear sharp against the pulse in her veins. A sudden crash, a toppled barricade, sent Tega stumbling. He shielded her instinctively, pulling her behind him just as a flying piece of debris grazed his shoulder. Pain shot through him, but he barely flinched, keeping her pressed close.
Move.
He urged, guiding her toward the narrower alley that led back to safety. Amaka's breath came in ragged bursts.
Tega, your shoulder.
Doesn't matter.
He grunted, one arm around her waist, the other protecting them both.
We're getting out of this.
They burst from the chaos into the quieter pathway behind the Faculty of Arts. Amaka's hands shook as she helped steady him. Blood had started to seep through his white shirt at the shoulder.
You should have let me.
She started, voice trembling.
Amaka.
He interrupted gently, brushing a damp strand of hair from her forehead.
Don't even think about it. You're safe. That's what matters.
For a moment, silence wrapped around them, broken only by the distant shouts of the protest. She pressed her hand to his wound, feeling the heat, the strength, the raw determination in him.
I can't believe you.
He cut her off with a small, half smile.
I told you, I've got you. Always.
And in that moment, amid the echoes of chaos and fear, Amaka realized something she had known in her heart all along. Love wasn't just laughter and gentle walks under the mango tree. It was courage, sacrifice, and the quiet promise of being there for someone even when the world went mad around them. Tega squeezed her hand, wincing slightly.
Let's get you home.
As they walked slowly toward the hostel, the orange glow of the setting sun caught the blood on his shirt, and Amaka's chest tightened with a fierce, protective warmth. She had never felt love like this, raw, urgent, and unshakable, and she knew she would follow him anywhere, through any storm. When hearts finally speak. The hospital smelled faintly of antiseptic and rain-soaked earth. Amaka hated that smell, hated the thin blue curtain that separated her from the muffled groans of other patients, hated the hollow clatter of nurses' shoes in the corridor. Most of all, she hated the sight of Tega lying pale and still on the narrow bed, his arm bandaged, the drip line running into his wrist like a fragile lifeline. She hadn't left since the ambulance brought him in. Her hair was in disarray, her eyes swollen from crying, her voice hoarse from shouting his name through the chaos of the protest. Yet here she was, clinging to the chair by his bedside as though her presence alone could anchor him to life. When his eyelids fluttered open, Amaka jerked forward so quickly she nearly knocked over the four-stand.
Tega,
She whispered, grabbing his hand.
you scared me.
A weak smile tugged at the corner of his lips.
Still here?
Her voice broke.
Where did you expect me to be? After you almost got yourself killed for me?
He tried to chuckle, but the sound dissolved into a hiss of pain. His thumb brushed her knuckles gently.
I'd do it again. Every time. You're worth it, Amaka.
Something inside her gave way then, all the walls, all the hesitation, all the careful boundaries she had drawn around her heart since coming to campus. Her tears slipped freely, landing on his hand, hot and trembling.
Don't say things like that if you don't mean them.
She sobbed.
I've never meant anything more.
His voice was hoarse but steady.
Amaka, from the first day we talked under that mango tree, I knew you were different. You make me want to be better, fight harder, love deeper. I can't keep pretending this is just friendship.
Her breath hitched. For a moment, the world shrank to just his eyes, vulnerable, unguarded, pleading.
I love you, Amaka.
His words were soft, but they struck with the force of thunder.
I love you in a way that scares me, but I don't care anymore. If I leave here tomorrow, at least you know the truth.
Amaka pressed his hand to her cheek, her tears dampening the bandage around his wrist.
Why are you like this?
She whispered.
Always putting yourself in harm's way. Always carrying other people's pain.
Because I can't stand to see the people I love hurt.
She broke then, fully, her heart spilling over in a flood of emotions she could no longer restrain.
I love you too, Tega.
She confessed.
I didn't want to admit it. I thought I could keep it simple, keep it safe. But you've become my heartbeat, and I can't imagine this place, this life, without you.
For the first time in days, real strength returned to his smile. His fingers squeezed hers, weak but certain.
Then promise me something.
Anything.
Promise me we'll face whatever comes together. No more running. No more hiding.
Amaka leaned closer, her forehead brushing his.
I promise. She breathed. They stayed like that, two broken yet bound hearts, until the nurse came in with his medications. Amaka excused herself to fetch some water, her chest lighter than it had been in weeks. Yet as she stepped into the corridor, a hushed conversation drifted to her ears. Two students she recognized from Tega's faculty were talking just outside.
He nearly got suspended last semester.
One whispered.
All because of that fight in front of Malabir Hall.
Amaka froze. The story again. The rumor that had shadowed Tega for months. She clenched her fists, ready to snap at them, when the details stopped her cold.
But you know why it happened, right?
That guy was harassing one of the freshers. Turns out she was related to Tega's course mate. Some ex who wouldn't let go. He stepped in and beat the guy off. If not for the girl's tears, Tega would have been expelled.
Her breath caught. Related to a course mate? She pushed forward, her voice trembling.
Wait, who was the girl?
The students blinked at her sudden intrusion. One of them adjusted his glasses.
Oh, you didn't hear. The girl was your sister's roommate. And the ex causing trouble was your sister's ex-boyfriend.
Amaka's knees nearly buckled. Her sister. All this time, the incident that tainted Tega's name, the whispers that haunted him, had been rooted in protecting someone tied to her own family. She staggered back into the ward, her emotions overwhelming her. Tega looked up, confusion furrowing his brow.
Amaka. What happened?
She reached his side in 2 strides, cupping his face in her trembling hands.
It was you.
She whispered fiercely.
It was you all along. You weren't just fighting some random battle. You were protecting her, protecting us.
His eyes softened with recognition, but he said nothing. He didn't need to. Fresh tears welled in Amaka's eyes, but they were no longer heavy with fear. They shimmered with awe, with gratitude, with love so fierce it could drown the world. She bent and kissed his forehead tenderly.
You've always been my hero,
she murmured.
Now I know why.
And as the evening sun filtered through the window, casting them in a warm, golden glow, Amaka realized that love wasn't about perfection or safety. It was about standing with someone in the storm, about finding a hand that never let go. And Tega's hand, bruised, bandaged, trembling, was the one she would hold, now and always.
Like this? Share it with your squad, and don't forget to subscribe for more diary tea.
Under campus lights, we found our way through the noise. You taught my heart to stay. Even when the world tried to pull us apart, you held my hand, I gave you my heart. Tega and Amaka, written in the skies, love in our voices, truth in our eyes. No storm too strong, no night too long, together forever where we belong. In the silence, your whispers called to me. Through the shadows, you set my spirit free. I was lost, now I'm home in your arms, safe and warm, away from all harm. Tega and Amaka, written in the skies, love in our voices, truth in our eyes. No storm too strong, no night too long, together forever where we belong. Every scar, every tear we'll face as one. Every battle fades when the day is done. And if tomorrow feels heavy and far, I'll find you always, my brightest star. Tega and Amaka, written in the skies, love in our voices, truth in our eyes. No storm too strong, no night too long, together forever where we belong. Every scar, every tear race is won. Every battle fades when the day is done. And if tomorrow feels heavy and far, I'll find you always, my brightest star. Final.